Welcome to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and joining me as always is Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated MMQB. Gilbert, we found out post game after the Bears and the Rams that the Rams were using cayenne pepper on their socks to keep warm. So, my question to you, sir, before we kick off this preview of the NFC title game between the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks is is there a go-to as we call it jarabe or any kind of a thing that you've used in the past or and to kind of either get yourself warm or just medication that wasn't over the counter, I guess.
Well, I guess I know some stuff because I recently went to Iceland, but apparently it was one of the warmest Decembers there in a long time, so I didn't really get to feel the cold, but there were some cold days, and one thing I did notice on those days where they were like, again, it wasn't that cold. It was like maybe I think the coldest day was like 20 degrees, and I just pretty much walked out in a wool quarter zip, and that kept me warm. I guess wool was the way to go. Apparently, cotton is not good because I think it absorbs a lot of the maybe heat or sweat, and it just makes everything uncomfortable. So wool is the way to go. Apparently, what else did I have? I had everything: beanies, the neck thing, the face mask thing, 3 layers. So, but yeah, wool was the one that I liked. But then yeah, the pepper stuff and the sock was a new one, and I wonder if it even worked because when you're out there, like you're actually moving, you're sweating, your the adrenaline's running. Like I don't know how much credit you give to that, but hey, cool trick, and it worked.
Yeah, and it did. I thought one of the funniest things I saw, there was a video circulating of DeMarco Farr, who does the sideline reporting for the Rams. He was talking about all the stuff he had on, and then him trying to take it off in the plane, and he just gave up, and then it ended up just like uh taking it off once he got back to his car, and he's like, "Well, we're." So I think one of the producers or someone asked him, and they're like, so were you afraid you got if you would get stopped or something? And he's like, hey, I was just like, if they do, I'm like, I'm just gonna tell them, look, I was just in Chicago, and I needed to get all these clothes off of me, so I'm sorry, but we if you I'm sure you're a Rams fan or something, if, in case you got pulled over. But I thought it was funny, but yeah, we have a great show for you guys today. We have a special guest, midway through our show here, who will help us preview this matchup, Gilbert. And so we have a lot to get into, as we called it. This is the trilogy. It's not it's not Muhammad Ali versus Frazier. It's not Barrera versus Morales, but we get two regular season matchups between the Seahawks and Rams, where the difference is a couple points. The Rams won by 2 points in the first matchup, and the Seahawks won by 1 point in the second matchup, Gilbert. So I guess to start it off, to kind of kick things off, Gilbert, I wanted to start with the 2021 draft class, and you were a part of being the beat reporter for the Rams. You were working for the OC Register at the time, and you got to cover, perhaps one of the worst Rams teams in the McVay era. And but one of the things that I thought came out of it was there's three players that were huge in that win for the Rams against the Bears. It was Quinn Lake, it was Kobe Durant, and it was and who am I forgetting? Who was the third? Quinn Lake, Kobe Durant, and then of course the running back. And all three of those were drafted in succession, right? You had Kobe Durant in the fourth round out of South Carolina State. You had Kyron Williams in the fifth round, and then you had Quinn Lake, safety, in the sixth round. And so you got to cover this team. You got to get to know these three players, and now to see them kind of get themselves to on the pinnacle of the Super Bowl. What has that been like for you? A couple weeks ago, you talked about Quinn Lake and how much he's meant to this team, but can you talk about the other two guys and covering those two guys their rookie season?
Yeah, you're talking about the 2022 NFL draft, and I'm guessing there was no first round pick, right? Maybe no second round pick. I
No, it
lost
was
track.
Logan Bruss who was
Oh
a
yeah,
bust.
third
Remember,
round
it was
pick.
in the
Yeah,
third round. No
yeah,
first round pick, no second round
yeah,
pick. Another guy who has kind of been going back and forth was Darion Kendrick, the cornerback. He was the sixth round. He was the other sixth round pick. You also
yeah.
had Daniel Hardy, who was an edge. Never heard of. I don't remember. And then the
I
other
remember.
one was Russ Yeast, and then AJ or Curry, who did
Yeah,
were part of the team for a couple years.
yeah, yeah. Daniel Hardy was pretty productive in the preseason. I remember he had potential. I don't know if he made the first 53 that year. He might have, and obviously got cut after that. But yeah, that's the first year where the Matthew Stafford draft picks from the trade kicked in. Because if you remember, I think that what Detroit did, which was kind of smart, was kick down the picks not for 2021 but for 2022, and they got the Rams first round pick in 22 and 23. I don't know who they drafted in 22. It's really bugging me. I can't remember, but 23 I think was a Jameer Gibbs pick where they moved down from the top. Yeah, the Rams were horrendous that year. Remember, they were 5-12. So I think it was like a top 10 pick, and they moved down to get Gibbs, but I can't remember 22. I don't think it was
Well,
Aiden
one of them
Hutchinson.
was the linebacker, but that was, I think, their first. That
Yeah,
was
that
their
was
first pick.
theirs. You know what? It,
Their
it was Jameson Williams. They had
Jamison
Aiden
Williams.
Hutchinson, which was their own pick because they were bad, and then they got the Rams pick, what they got to move around. But anyway, it's not about the Detroit Lions. And real quick, JML, I see your comment there, and real quick, I know last week I was fighting with an Illinois fan, alumni, I guess, or fighting. What the hell are they fighting alumni?
Biden
Yeah,
Illini.
I can't say that because I keep thinking alumni. Uh, and I was listening to the audio of House of Horns. I'm like, man, I'm not telling people that I'm reading comments from people on the YouTube channel, so I apologize. So I got to get that more in my brain here. We do answer a lot of questions. So if you're on the audio, you want to ask some questions, get on the YouTube channel right now. But yeah, JLM 1893 is agreeing with me. Wolves the way to go. I live in New Hampshire, very cold up here. Wolves the way to go. And then Anthony WB, I've seen your comments before. I love the Kane picture there. Kane, the WWE superstar from the Attitude Era there. Anthony's a Niners fan who wants the Rams to beat the Seahawks. So there you go. Uh, uh, your enemy is our enemy. So pretty much that's the way Anthony is going about this. But yes, going back to the 2022 draft, that was the season that I covered for the Rams. Yeah, that kind of goes to show you how they excel in the back end of the draft. Like there's a reason why this Rams team has made the playoffs 3 years in a row without without leaning on too many veterans. Obviously, you have, Matthew Stafford, but Cooper Cup was gone this year. Aaron Donald's been gone for 2 years. Like that was a core three, and there's only one standing. So you had to build through the draft, and I'm sure the more you go on, Vic, in 23 and 24 and 25, you're seeing a lot of guys who are making an impact right now. So that was the start of what I like to call the third chapter of McVay, Snead era. Obviously, Jared Goff, uh, F them picks era with Stafford first part, and then second part being the third part now is all the kids in Stafford and the way they reinvented themselves. So Kyron Williams was an interesting one because there was a lot of praise and hype for him coming out of college because he could protect in the pass block. He could protect the quarterback, and everybody just marveled at the way he could do that. And for such a small guy, he knew how to really push off big defenders. And I still remember when I asked McVay for a breakdown of what makes him, pretty good in that category, and like his eyes lit up, like, yeah, this guy, he's gonna be legit. And obviously, our good friend Fernando covered Notre Dame for a bit, and he got to, hang around Kyron and hear coaches talk about Kyron. And he also, Fernando, was like, he's gonna be a good running back. So I think they really want him to be a rookie starter. But I remember on the opening kickoff against the Buffalo Bills, he got hurt, and that really derailed his rookie year. It was kind of the beginning of the end for Cam Akers, but because Kyron wasn't around, there was more carries for Cam Akers. He got in trouble that year. Uh, But yeah, it kind of just shows you that not everybody is a complete product right away. And then Kyron obviously took the reins year two. And I remember in 2023 when he got hurt, they really missed him. So Kyron Williams, who doesn't get enough attention, uh, he's somewhere in that class where, like, I know James Cook took his game to another level, but I remember him and James Cook were trying to get paid this offseason, and you don't know where to put them because they're not Saquon, they're not Derrick Henry, but the numbers don't lie. They score touchdowns and they get yards. So he is one of the most productive running backs since he's been here or gotten here in 2022. And obviously, I spoke about Lake, and the other one was I lost track of who you
Kobe
mentioned.
Durant and Quinn Lake. Quinn Lake, you've already talked
Yeah,
about. The one I wanted to really talk about was Kobe Durant, just because of what he's been doing lately. And out of those three, he's the only one that hasn't been re-signed yet. He hasn't gotten the extension yet.
yeah.
And
Which
so, yeah,
Yeah, I get it. He's been very inconsistent. He's been up and down. He actually had the fastest start from those three his rookie year. I thought he was going to take off after the rookie year. He showed a lot of promise, good ball hawking skills. You know, not the cleanest coverage player, but he knew how to be in the right spots, and he showed that he was versatile. I remember he was a small guy, and I watched him in training camp. I'm like, they're going to try to put that guy on the outside. I don't know about that, but he just had a nose for the ball. He made a lot of plays. He was very aggressive, and they kind of found the spot for him on the inside. I remember I think there was like a pick six, well, not a pick six, but a deep return against Atlanta his rookie year. I remember that, and he got hurt on that play where he pulled the hammy.
yep, I
But then
remember.
from there, it was kind of just rocky. Year two, year three, just not very consistent. They try to make him the star in the Jalen Ramsey post era, and he just couldn't handle the role. It was too much for him. They couldn't find the role for him the following year. I really thought not going to be an impactful player. Even this year, he's still very up and down. I think he's found the home, being there on the outside, especially with Quentin Lake taking over the star role. It kind of gave him less to do. And I think for him, that was better. But you can't deny what he's, given this team as a guy who knows how to have a nose for the ball. Might get in trouble every now and then, but he doesn't play like his size. He plays much bigger than that, and I think the Rams could appreciate that. So I don't know if he's going to get another contract. Um, you know, even if you're asking me, I don't know if he's deserving of the second one. Maybe as a role player, I think this team needs to get better in the back end of the defense. So if there's opportunities to pay somebody else, I would do that because he has been very up and down for the last 4 years. But he definitely stepped up and when it mattered most last week.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk about that draft class, just because it was the one right after the Super Bowl, and a lot of those guys got to play, and now you're seeing the benefits of it. Having Quinn Lake, Kyron Williams, and Kobe Durant, be a big focal point of the win against the Bears. So it just tells you that if you draft well, and those players, you know develop, then you can extend them like they have with Quinn Williams and Kyron Williams. I mean, with Quinn Lake and Kyron Williams. So it's good to see the development of those guys. And it's not like they had a first or second round pick and they got these guys in the third, fourth, and sixth round, or whatever it was. And they paid great dividends for them. So I just wanted to spotlight them. I hope that that the Rams make it to the Super Bowl, because those are stories that I kind of want to go cover. Like, I want to go talk to those guys about being part of that draft class, and what it's meant to be together through this journey. So we'll see what happens, Gilbert. But we got a great show for everybody. As we said, we're gonna do our usual. We're gonna give you guys our latest news and notes plus storylines for both teams going into this matchup. And lastly, we'll do our game predictions. But before we do that, and as we also mentioned, we have a guest coming up in about 10 minutes that will join us to break down this matchup even more. Gilbert, do you have a engagement question for our viewers and listeners?
Yeah. What are the keys to a Rams victory on Sunday? Yeah, we're back to Sunday games here, and um, if it's part three, it's a difficult one. Even I'm having a hard time figuring out what to say because they've already played each other twice. I don't want to lean into any narrative because it's part three. You don't know what the hell is going to happen. Anything that you say, like if you say something about, yeah, I'm confident it's going to happen, you're wrong. Like the first two games were just so up and down, chaotic. The Rams almost blew it the first time around. But they held on. The Rams did blow it the second time when the Seahawks came back. Maybe you could say that the Rams need to not blow a lead this time around. But who knows? Maybe they don't play from ahead. Maybe the Seahawks play from ahead. They are in Seattle. They have an extra day of rest of an advantage right there. So I'm not gonna just lean off of what I saw the first two games, but I do know these are two of the best teams in football, probably the two best teams left right now. I think they are the two best teams left. But yeah, I don't know. I need help with this one. I don't know what the hell the key is gonna be here, but I know it's gonna be a great game.
Yeah, and maybe it's not to have the Seahawks with the ball at the end of the game because it happened in the first game and happened in
Yeah.
the second game. The first one, the Rams won that one, and then the second one, the Seahawks won that one. So maybe you have the ball at the end of the game with and you're up. So that'll be something to kind of keep an eye on. But we have Brian Smith says one, no turnovers, two, get to Darno and his oblique, three, shut down Walker, four, keep the ball away from Shaheed, and five, avoid
Yeah.
McVay conservative mode. So those are some great points. I think
I
we
like
should
number
just
four.
probably end the podcast there because those are some
Yeah.
good points there by Brian.
Yeah, the last two are definitely on my radar. But the fifth one is definitely one we could break down, and we will eventually when our good friend joins the show here about McVay being conservative. But yeah, man, if you could like not have Rashid Shaheed make an impact, that's a big chunk of the battle right there. Like
Yeah,
him sparking that comeback in the second game with the 58-yard punt return touchdown. We saw what happened when he had the kickoff return on the opening kickoff against the 49ers. It was a blowout. And you know, sorry, I know Anthony's watching here. Sorry about that. But Shaheed's punt return touchdown was all the points they needed. They would have won 7-6. So
yeah.
that's how much of a spark that freaking kick was for them.
Whoa, I mean, talking about him, I felt like the Rams season flipped on that punt return in that Thursday night game. Like the it felt like things just turned for the Rams. Like the way everybody looked at the Rams after that punt return, everything just snowballed downhill. You lose to the Seahawks, then you lose to the
Falcons.
the Falcons and the Panthers, and so it just felt like that was one of the last that just snowballed into what we saw at the end of the season, Gilbert.
Yeah, the Panthers one was after or before. I mean
Before, yeah, but
yeah.
that it's yeah,
But they had the close playoff game where they should have beaten the Panthers by a lot, but actually both times they didn't. And then you got that Cardinals game where they took out all their frustration on Arizona in week 18. But yeah, if they would have won that game in Seattle, if you never allowed that punt return touchdown, maybe you're playing this game at SoFi. You had a 16-point lead in the fourth quarter, you blew it. I still don't know how they lost that game. I remember writing my story. I think I was writing about Puka Nakua. See the punt return touchdown. I'm like, okay, well, they still got another 8 points. They'll be fine. You can't score back to back touchdowns with 2-point conversions, and sure enough, they did. Uh, yeah, we could keep reviewing that game, but it was not the defense best day. It was not Seattle's best day defensively, and they're supposed to be one of the best defenses in the NFL. So it just kind of tells you like all these stats and what you know, throw it out the window when they're rivals because they know how to find weaknesses. They know how to take advantage of even strengths that you think that other teams can't figure out.
yeah, and that's why it's a trilogy. You don't know what these teams know each other very well. However you saw the Rams play the last two games of the playoffs compared to the Seahawks blowing out the 49ers on back-to-back uh games, it doesn't matter because these teams know each other really well, and so it's about who can out execute the other here. Gilbert, let me go quick here with Rams news and notes. I want to get to everybody's comments before we get our special guest. So I'm gonna go quickly here with our Rams news and notes here. Rams DB Quinn Lake is sick and away from the team today, but Sean McVay said that he hopes he is back soon. You also, in terms of the injury report, they're pretty healthy. Byron Young did not practice, I think, today. Let me double check on the injury report here real quick. Yeah, so did not Byron Young with the knee did not participate today, but Sean McVay said that he doesn't expect it to impact his availability. He did have a swollen knee after the game against the Bears, but they expect him to play on Sunday. Same with Emmanuel Force and his shoulders injury. Um, and then the in terms of the Seahawks, did not participate. The one you have to keep an eye on is tackle Charles Cross. Mike McDonald did say that he's day to day with that foot, so we'll see if he plays. And then the big one, Mike McDonald had said earlier in the week that running back Zach Charbonnet had a significant knee injury, and he would need surgery, so he's going to be out of this game. And then I'm looking at some of the other names here. Tackle Josh Johnson with the knee and an ankle, and tackle Amari Knight with the knee also did not participate for the Seahawks. Those are the ones that you kind of have to keep an eye on if you're a Seahawks fan. Couple more things here that I'm going to run through real quick, Gilbert, and it's the last one. Rams right guard Kevin Dotson said a couple weeks ago, and I remember I saved this. He said he didn't know Seahawks defensive line Derek Hall stepped on him intentionally until 2 days later. Quote, if I would have known that, I probably would have stood up, but I'm past it, not going to hold it, nothing against until I can see him and get my get back. So another kind of storyline to kind of keep an eye on, the whole Kevin Dotson, Derek Hall situation. Derek Hall stepped on him. And then when Kevin Dotson hurt his ankle, and cost them to miss what was it, 3 or 4 games. So that'll be another storyline. How does Kevin Dotson pay back on Derek Hall, Gilbert?
Yeah, I'm sure there's many, I guess, I don't know, grudges, rivalries, dilemmas you could talk about when these two teams are about to play each other for the third time. They're in the division. I think Sean McVay mentioned that they wanted to face the Seahawks at this point, like when they saw them play the day before. Like, okay, cool. We get the third game here because they both know they're the two best teams in the division. Obviously, the 49ers were in the mix, but the 49ers were kind of always a step below because of all the injuries. So, yeah, they wanted to face this team, and I'm sure there's a lot of back and forth. And I'm sure I would not be surprised. You could probably put the over under on a 2.5 scuffles that break out because they're going to be itching to hit each other. They're tired of each other. The Super Bowl is on the line. There's going to be a raucous environment there in Seattle. So, yeah, that's just one of many stories I bet from Kevin Dotson trying to get his get back.
Yeah, and kind of like our theme of this episode today, which is a trilogy, and the fact that you kind of look at it as a fight. I wanted to talk about right before we get our guests on, and in terms of how one of the things we've been talking about lately is styles make fights, and we talked about the fact that the Rams won the first game playing a Seattle type of game, while the Seahawks won the second game playing a LA type of game. So for this round three, I guess, is what can we expect? And you talked about it. You're like, I don't know what we're gonna get, but I thought one of the things that has been, and we'll get into it with our guests, is the fact that in the last 4 games, Gilbert, the Seahawks have found the running game. They've averaged over 160 plus yards rushing in the last 4 games. That includes that matchup against the Rams where they went for 171. They went for 173 against the Panthers, 180, and then 175 in their 2 matchups with the 49ers. So they found something in the running game, and that's something where they're gonna have that's gonna be a big key. We talked about what's gonna be a big key. This rushing defense for the Rams. They went out and got Puna Ford, Gilbert, but I'm gonna before I'm kind of sending you up here. One of the things that I saw in that coming out of that Bears game, Gilbert, the Rams pulled a Bill Belichick on the Bears in that game, Gilbert, and they used that same defense that Belichick used in that Super Bowl against McVay to stop Ben Johnson's running game. which I thought, what looking back at it, was pretty cool to see because he used something that was used to against him to try to neutralize Ben Johnson's running game. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And do you think we see the same thing, or does he change it up again now with in Chris Shula here?
Yeah, I think after you showed it, you probably have to change it up a little bit. And yeah, that was a wise decision because when Belichick used it on McVay, he still was a young coach trying to find his way, and he probably thought, all his creative ideas were going to work, and then boom, this takes away half of your game plan there. And that's what he did to Ben Johnson, who had pretty much no answers on the fourth downs. Like, he lacked creativity the whole game, couldn't get a running game going that was working all year. So, uh, but yeah, on the flip side for Seattle, like, I think that's the reason why I'm giving them more of a chance here. Like, I really think, having that running game is making a big deal to the point where we're not even talking about the O line being an issue. We're not talking about Charles Cross being injured. Like, what Kenneth Walker has done against his defense, in these 2 games, like, kind of tells you they're going to have a balance. And the way to get to Sam Darnold is by not having a balanced attack, and you got to eliminate that run game. So maybe they try something a little different to take away a running game, or maybe they go back to the well. I don't know, but it's weird because Sam Darnold has not gotten in the way because they've been running the football. They've been dominating on defense. They've been winning on special teams. Like, I don't know where's the last time this team played in a close game. I honestly, was it week 16? I think they went after
Yeah.
that. Who did they play
Well, it
after
was
that?
back to back weeks. Remember, everybody forgets about that first Philip Rivers Colts game, which was the last time they were
Yeah,
held under 100 yards, Gilbert. But
yeah,
let's get to our special guest here, Gilbert. I don't want to keep him waiting. I'm glad that we were able to get him, especially after the last time he joined us. So I'm gonna let you set up his intro here, Gilbert. I
yeah.
don't have his music. I messed up, and I need to get that from Fernando. But yeah, go ahead and set it up
It's
for us
okay.
here.
We're a classy show here. Eric knows that, and he doesn't need to have a hype up music. It's not WWE here. So, Eric D.
Yeah.
Williams of Fox Sports, NFL reporter. How you doing, sir? And how you like being on this classy show here?
I feel like you guys should play some yacht rock music to go with the classiness that you have here at House of Horns. Like, this isn't a kegger out in the woods like what's
Yeah,
going on there with those other folks. So I
yeah.
appreciate
I
you.
don't know what that other show. What do they call it? What's up, boats, whatever. Those brothers, man, they just kind of cause trouble. You have to be in the
Yeah.
car with those guys, and you hear like the most absurd football takes ever invented. So I don't know how you do, Eric, but I'm glad that your football mind is still sane and you're here to break down a fascinating matchup between the Rams and the Seahawks, part 3. And are you going to be at that game, by the way, NFC title game?
Yeah, not going to be up there. I was up there last week
Okay.
for the divisional game with the Niners, but another colleague of mine is going to be up there covering the game, and then I'll be at the Super Bowl in a couple weeks.
Okay, there you go. You're traveling the whole world here, or the west coast of the United States of America, but that's the world to me. Who cares? But Eric, what was one thing you took away from? It's hard to take something from a beatdown, 41-6 against the
Yeah.
49ers. I was just telling Victor, like, it's tough for me to kind of break down the Seahawks team because they haven't really been tested since that Week 16 game on Thursday Night Football against the Rams. Maybe I'm forgetting one, but Sam Darnold has not been needed much, and I'll say this: even though I haven't seen them being pushed lately, for some reason I'm giving them their best chance here to beat the Rams when it really matters the most. Like, I've been pretty impressed with them the second half of the season, but maybe I'm being fooled again here, Eric. So that's why you're on here to keep it real. Have you noticed a difference for this team that maybe in a different level, or they just haven't been tested yet?
No, I think they were tested in that last game against the Niners. If
Yeah,
McCaffrey
right. Yeah.
doesn't drop that pass, I mean, it's a one score game in the fourth quarter, and it's probably a little different in terms of how they have to close that out. I think the one thing that you notice in watching this team now is the way the defense is playing. Just all three levels, getting to the football, able to create pass rush, the way they're stopping the run right now and getting teams into long down and distances. They're taking the ball away. Obviously this is a team led by their defense. Their head coach is a defensive head coach, Mike McDonald, and they kind of take after him with a kind of a no nonsense lunch pail mentality and how they're playing. So I think it starts there. Obviously, they're able to run the football a little more effectively in the second half of the season. So Kenneth Walker has taken on a larger role in the offense, and I think that's helped in terms of making it so Sam doesn't have to do everything. So I would think those two things kind of stand out to me: the ability to consistently run the football more second half of the season, and then it just feels like the defense has kind of took it up even a couple more notches to where they were earlier this year.
Eric, I'm glad you went there because I was just telling Gilbert about, especially the last 4 games, the Seahawks have had over 160 plus yards, right? Against the Rams, they had 171, against the Panthers, 163. And then the 2 games against the 49ers, they went for 180 and 175. One of the things I've noticed with this team is the fact that they use those tight ends very well to block AJ Barner, Eric Saubert, and those receivers, Cooper Kupp, Jake Bobo, Rashid Shaheed, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. But the guy that's been the biggest difference in the run game has been their tight end turned fullback, Robbie Otts. I hope I'm saying his name right. He's been a big difference. They missed him for a chunk of the middle of the season there, and it seems like he's been the key to that running game in that second half of the season.
The running back in that scheme is important because it's really the eyes of the fullback is important because it's the eyes of the running back. Back in the day when Marshawn was there, Michael Robinson was the same. He was kind of the eyes of Marshawn, and Marshawn would just kind of read off of him. And so it's interesting that you bring up the fullback now being a key to the running game, just bringing them loose, because I do feel like when they want to go 2-back personnel, obviously he's going to be a key to kind of set that that running game up for the running back and where he wants to go and where he should go in terms of the blocking. So that makes sense.
Eric, before I give you another question, I just want to say people love hearing from you. Happy Gilmore saying, Eric D, always good to hear your insights. So we want to bring the best here for House of Horns.
Appreciate you, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, so your people are liking your insight here. And yeah, you've been covering the league for a very long time, Eric. You covered the Seahawks as a beat reporter. You covered the Chargers as a beat reporter. You covered the Rams as a beat reporter. And I think about it, now you're covering the whole NFL for Fox Sports. But since you have that, you're like the Sean McVay of reporters. Like you're the wonder kid who knows everything. So by the way, Eric, because when I have you on, I like to tell you all my annoyances. And I know Sean McVay is the real deal, but he's like not even 40 yet. And I just saw a story that said Mike McDonald, the next Sean McVay. I'm like, why can't it be like, I don't know, the next Shula or somebody or Bill Belichick or somebody who's like been around the game for 30, 40 years. But anyways, that just made me laugh. But anyway, since your brilliant football mind is here, I'm telling Victor the truth here. I'm kind of like running out of ideals or talking points for this rivalry because they played twice already, and I could tell you, yeah, Sam Darnold's a fraud, but like he's been playing well. He won a playoff game last week. Like I can't just lean off of the past here. So is there one thing that you've noticed from this rivalry, Eric, that's not getting enough attention that you think is going to play out pretty big come Sunday?
I think for me, it's Rams defensive line against Seattle's offensive line. Charles Cross has a foot injury. He didn't finish the game, last week. He was listed as a non-participant. They had a walkthrough on Wednesday. So his availability is going to be important in terms of, their ability to protect Sam and to run the football. I think we saw in that game against the Bears, the Rams' ability to affect the pass rush with just 4 guys, and their ability to close out games because they can get out the quarterback late in games, and that's been kind of an Achilles heel for other teams that have played Seattle. You look at San Francisco, obviously not having Bosa was a big deal, and not having Warner as a guy that can blitz. And so the Rams have, one of the better front fours in the league. I think it's one of the reasons why they were able to close out the Bears and why, the Packers struggled to close out the Bears because they didn't have Micah. So I think that's something to watch, is not only their ability to affect pass rush, but their ability to stop the run and get out the field with guys like Puna inside.
Yeah, and talking about the defense, Eric, how much of a difference having a healthy Puna for having a Quinton Lake has made on this team? Because
Yeah.
if you look at those two playoff games versus the Panthers and the Bears, you could tell that their run defense has really stepped up. Um, and it's been really good. And then the other thing I was telling Gilbert that I thought it was really interesting that the Rams kind of did a Belichick thing here, where they used one of the defense that they used to stop Sean McVay on Ben Johnson there. So I just thought it was a brilliant move. I doubt we see it here in this matchup, but
Mm.
what can that defense do that we haven't seen differently, and having all those guys healthy, how does that help?
Well, having Q back, Quentin, is huge because of his versatility, and you can move him uh, in all different areas of the formation. Whether you want to play him back, play him up as a linebacker. He's also pretty good in coverage, playing from the slot, so you can use him inside either against slot receivers or tight ends. So I think he's kind of a nice chess piece to have back on that defense. And then you mentioned Puna's. Puna's one of the better run stuffers in the league. So having him, healthy and ready to go, I think obviously is going to add to what they can do defensively. I don't know if they're going to do a lot of different kind of disguises against Seattle. I think it's going to be more about getting to the football and getting guys on the ground, so you're not giving up, any yards after catch, particularly Walker, because Walker is such an explosive back. If he's able to get to the edge, he has enough speed where a 5-yard run can turn into a 25 or 30-yard run. And then I think the other guy you have to watch for is, Rashid Shaheed. Obviously, he had the big kick return, and they use him as a gadget guy too. He had a 30-yard run on an end around. So again, speed on the outside. We know what JSN can do if he gets the ball in his hands, and a guy that they want to get to. And that old guy, Cooper Kupp, he's making a couple plays here too now, playing against his former team. He's going to have a little bit of extra juice, a little extra motivation. And I think they've done a pretty good job of lightening the load during the year. So he's coming into this game healthy and not, limping, which, last couple of years he's been kind of banged up. He's ready to play.
All right, Eric, we have reached the point of the interview where I get you to say something controversial, something for the clicks, something for the comments, something for people to say, hey, maybe you're not that insightful, Eric. I'm going to make your fans into enemies, but I'm going to put you in the spot here. Who is the better player, JSN or Puka Nacua?
Ooh. It's Puka.
Okay,
I
why?
got to keep it above.
Okay, there you go. Why?
He's just a force of nature, man. Like, I've never seen anybody like him that at the receiver position, he's a receiver that plays the receiver like Marshawn Lynch. Like, that's how he plays. Like, that kind of Tasmanian devil, the ferocity that he runs with when he gets the ball. I guess Debo was like that at his height. If you remember what Debo was like,
Yeah.
the year that he went off, it's kind of like watching Puka right now. And then Puka, but unlike Debo, Puka doesn't drop the ball. Like, he catches the ball in contested catches, but probably best than anybody in the league. So I have a lot of respect for JSN. I think JSN's probably a better pure receiver as a route runner and ability to create separation. But if you're just talking about playmaker, which really, that's what it's about, your ability to make plays. It doesn't matter what it looks like. I probably would have to go Puka.
Vic, if you don't mind, let me give him a follow-up to that one. And I don't think it's a big deal. They got in trouble a few weeks back with the streaming stuff and saying dumb crap on the internet. But like you mentioned, he is physical. He puts his body on the line. He hasn't missed too many games, but there's times where the second year he did miss a good amount of games. But
Yeah,
he's about to break the bank. And do you pay him top wide receiver money, which is what, pushing almost 40 million per year? Would you do that for Puka Nacua, knowing, or maybe it's a short term deal, knowing that he does put his body on the line? It's instead of 5 years, there's a 3 year deal that, front loaded for 2 years, maybe. Who knows? But what do you think about that dilemma?
He deserves to get paid. It would be a shorter term deal if I was the person trying to get it done. And I say that because of the injuries. He does get injured a lot. And I feel like it's kind of Sean's fault. Like Sean puts him in areas and where he doesn't really need to use him in that manner. He runs them a lot, maybe probably more than he needs to run them because they have a lot of playmakers. So I think part of it is McVay's usage of him puts him in harm's way when it's not really necessary for him to be in that situation. And McVay has acknowledged that, publicly. He talked about it, that he has to do a better job of that. But Puka definitely deserves to get paid. He's one of the best receivers in the league, but the injury piece would be concerning for me because I do feel like he plays a little bit reckless and maybe should go to the Antonio Gates school of live to play for another play. Gates is probably the best at that I've seen. Like Gates gets 10 yards and then he goes straight down. Like I'm not here for those extra hits. And I think as Puka gets older, he needs to learn that.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is like his blocking, how physical of a player he is blocking, and then when they have him go on some of those routes through the offensive line to create an advantage on the outside, that also you can get hit and I'm with you there, Eric. I wanted to talk. I'm gonna actually talk about something that Dan loves to talk about, which is the offensive line here, and I'll talk about the offensive line for the Rams. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting is I heard Albert Breer. He was on Colin Cowherd the other day, and he was talking
Mhm.
about that the big reason that the Rams are a more physical team was the fact that they went out and they hired Mike LaFleur, Nate Kelly, and offensive line coach Ryan Wendell. And the name that stuck with me was Ryan Wendell, who's the offensive line coach. I went back and looked, and in the last 2 seasons since he's joined this team, the Rams offensive line has allowed 23 sacks and 28 sacks the last 2 years. They've been able to fix that offensive line. They've been able to be more physical because of it. Nick Haley is now the offensive coordinator with the Texans, but Mike LaFleur is still there. Their best rushing attack was when him was calling plays in that Cardinals game. So, have you seen the change in physicality? And then in terms of Ryan Wendell, have you seen him? Is he a big reason why this offensive line has developed well in the last couple of years?
I think anytime your offensive line is playing well, you have to give credit to the offensive line coach because he must be doing something right to have connectivity with all those guys. I believe Wendell was from Patriots. Is that correct? And I think that
He
was maybe
he
one of
he played for the Patriots, but he actually came from the Buffalo Bills coaching staff.
okay. But I
Yeah.
think that connection to the Patriots
Yes.
with the success that they've had in the past was one of the reasons that they wanted to bring him in terms of scheme and how they wanted to better protect Stafford and also how they wanted to run the football. But I think the main thing is health. I mean, for the most part, they've been healthy. And I think whenever you have your five guys up there playing a large amount of those games together, you're going to build chemistry and you're going to see production. And so I think I would attribute it most to that, just those guys, getting a lot of snaps together and building again that chemistry, so they go out there and perform well week in and week out. Props for them for the Rams finding Alaric Jackson, a late round guy that's come in and played left tackle and has done a nice job for them, earned a nice paycheck in terms of contract. He's done a good job, kind of protecting that blind side for Stafford, and I think they've done a nice job of finding guys that could come in and fill in. McClendon at right tackle has been a guy. The interior guys that they drafted, last year, I forget their names, but they're guys that are serviceable that come in, know what they're supposed to do. They brought Coleman back, thought that was smart, guy that Stafford's really comfortable with. So I think all those things are, a combination of the reason why they're having success up front. But I don't really see a dominant group up front. Like they're not, to me, like, I don't know if you say like the Broncos or a dominant offensive line that you feel like they can just lean on you. I don't see them like that. I just feel like they're more efficient and they're better at is executing whatever the game plan is.
Can I do a follow up there, Gilbert?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
And I'll be quick with this one, Eric. And the last two games in the playoffs with the Panthers and the Bears, there's been an issue there between the second and third quarter, and I'm sure a lot of the people in the comments are yelling, like, why doesn't he run the ball more? And he went away from the 13 personnel in both of those games, and it bit him in the butt there. And then he called himself out. One of the things I know you guys were talking about McVay is that what he knows what the question is going to be, so he puts it on himself to start the press conference, because that way he already knows what the reporters are going to ask him. So he's very shrewd with that. But in terms of what we might see in this, we talked about these teams know each other very well, right? He can go to 11 personnel, but it just feels like they're the best when they're in 13 personnel, when they're using those three tight ends to be able to protect Matthew Stafford. And part of it against the Bears and why they allowed the most sacks this season was because they left those because they were in 11 personnel. A lot of those blitzes were coming when they were in 11 personnel. So I just want to get your thoughts in terms of what we might see here offensively against this really good Seahawks defense.
I think the fact that these guys are playing for a third time, you're really trying to break tendencies if you're the Rams or the Seahawks. So like you said, maybe they have had success in the past in 13, but the Seahawks are probably not going to match and play base. They're probably going to stay in their nickel because they're most comfortable in that. And I think they're predominantly running nickel, which, most teams are playing nickel nowadays anyway, because they have to deal with the passing game. So if the Seahawks aren't going to match in 13 and they're still effective, stopping the run, then I think they really have the advantage in terms of athletes, out on the field. And so if you're the Rams and you're already using Puka like a tight end anyway, maybe there's more of an advantage of going 11 and just running heavier formations out of 11 and using Puka more, near the formation itself and taking advantage of his ability to as a blocker in the run game. So again, just kind of going through all that, I think you might see them run more 11 than 13, even though they've had a lot of past success in 13. And the other thing is, obviously, you have to watch injuries. Are all the tight ends healthy? Are they ready to go? That's going to affect how much you're going to use all those different formations.
Eric, I got a couple more for you, and we appreciate your time. But the first time we had you on here to talk for the first matchup, I got myself in trouble because I said that this defense is good, but I think they're missing their like Houston has Will Anderson Jr. and Derek Stingley, like that. Who are their elite, playmaker? Who are their first team All Pros? And you see the potential where might have been a first team All Pro, maybe second team. I lost track. And then second. So see my point stands. But you don't have a Surtain or even like a Nick Bonito in Denver. You don't have a Michael Parsons. But I'm trying to give them credit. I'll get to the point. But I like Emanwari's versatile skill set.
Yeah.
But the ones that I feel like need to get more love, I obviously maybe they're studs in the secondary, but I feel like Leonard Williams is very underrated. I think Byron Murphy II has made a jump in year 2. And then even a guy who was maybe past his prime, like DeMarcus Lawrence, he has benefited from obviously playing in a good scheme, but all the playmakers where he's now creating turnovers or getting takeaways and getting touchdowns defensively. I guess can you maybe kind of highlight some of those guys on the front, like Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams, and what that means for guys like Witherspoon and Emanwari?
Yeah, I think they have an argument to have the best front in the league. Like, I know Houston gets a lot of shine because of their edge guys, but Leonard and Murphy set the table for everybody else because of their ability to push the pocket from the interior and their ability to rush the passer. I mean, each one of them had 7 sacks. in the postseason. And I felt like Leonard got screwed. He should have been first team All Pro with the
Wow,
Associated Press.
Yep.
I mean, he's been that dominant. There's a reason that they have one of the best defenses in the league, and it really starts with him up front. So they have those two guys on the inside. Then on the edge, they have your boy Uchenna, you know, from the Chargers. They have Boye Mafe, who's a good player. Derek Hall, who's a good player. And then, like you mentioned, Lawrence. So they have 4 dudes on the edge that they can just rotate. And then they still have Jaron Reed on the inside too. And look at their front. Like, they don't get tired because they just roll those guys through. Ernest Jones, I mean, he's got 6 picks, 100 and something tackles. Like, he balled out, did not get first team. I don't know what you have to do, you know, as a middle linebacker when you're making that many plays. So Jones kind of is the leader inside, but he's also productive. And then, you know, Iminori, like you mentioned, Julian Love is a professional at safety. And then Tariq is playing now. Like, he's balling.
Yeah.
If you haven't really been paying attention, like, he's come up and smacking dudes. And that was kind of the issue that they had with him, is they didn't feel like he was being physical enough. He's being physical now.
He's
So
a free
look
agent.
at their corners. What's that?
He's
He's trying to get paid. He's trying to get paid.
yeah.
That's correct. He wants to get paid. And then, you know, you can move Iminori and Witherspoon around based on matchups that you want to create. So he has versatility in the scheme. He can Witherspoon's great as a blitzer. Iminori is good as a blitzer. So they can show you a lot of different looks. But I think the main thing with this group is they get you on the ground. And that's where I compare them to that Legion of Boom team. Like, when Cam Chancellor tackled you, you weren't going anywhere. Like, you were on the ground. KJ Wright tackled you, you're on the ground. Bobby Wagner tackled you, you're not going anywhere. And so these guys have that similar ability as sure tacklers in the open field to limit that yak. But can they do it against Puka? You know, can they do it against Devontae Adams? You know, can they do it against Kyron Williams? The kind of playmakers that the Rams, you know, are going to, you know, throw at them. I think that's definitely something to watch.
You got another one, Vic?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, and this will be my last question for you, Eric. For you, what is the key for both of these teams, you know, to come out on top here? If you want to give us a score, go ahead. Or who you think is going to win this game. But if you're waiting for that, I just want to get some keys for you for both of these teams. You know, that's my biggest thing is, especially in a rubber match like this one. What is the key for both of these teams to win?
Mm-hmm. I'll give you a score first. I like 31-27 Seahawks. I just feel like they're playing the best right now out of these two teams. A couple keys for me in this one. For the Rams, we haven't talked about it. Special teams, like, are they going to play clean in that, on that, you know, part of the field or for their team? You know, how's the thicker kicker? Is he going to make his kicks? Are they going to give up a long return? Are they going to get a punt block? Like, how are they going to screw it up? That's what. But because I'm anticipating like something's going to happen that's going to be meaningful on that aspect for them. So that's going to be key for the Rams, in my opinion, is if they can play clean there. And then obviously for the Seahawks, it's Sam. I mean, is he going to, you know, not turn the ball over? Because he's not going to be able to get away with what he did last week and only throw the ball, you know, 17 times. And he's going to have to make some big boy throws because the Rams are going to score. Like, they're going to put points up. So Seahawks are going to have to match. Not having Charbonnet is a big deal, I think, you know, in terms of his ability to score near the end zone. He was kind of the guy they'd go to. Walker's playing really good right now. See if he can continue it. But I just feel like defensively, the Seahawks are going to get stops when they need them. And I think Darnold's going to do just enough for the Seahawks to get the victory. The Seahawks in this situation, they've been in 3 times before hosting NFC Championship game. They've won all 3 times to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm predicting a 4th here.
Yeah. The Pope, right? Same thing. The Pope was named the same year that they went to the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of things lining up.
Okay. Yeah, Eric, like the Rams are super talented, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, if this game is tight, special teams is gonna screw it up somehow. They have not fixed anything. I know think our kicker has made a couple field goals, but it's not just that. Can you protect and coverage? Shaheed took that punt return touchdown in that second meeting. So to me, there's a reason why McVay changed the kicker, because he knows when they're in the playoffs, tight games are going to occur, and when tight games happen, you better be clean on special teams. So I get the analysis, Eric, but we've had you here for too long, so let me give you one more question because I got to have an answer. I'm very curious about this. It feels like a summer tradition where we want Stafford to retire, or Stafford's too old, back injury, elbow injury, spinal cord contusion injury, whatever the hell it is, concussions, recovering, the chamber in the summer. 1 year contract after 1 year contract. Do you think the Rams will be foolish to move on from Stafford after a career year where he'll probably get MVP?
What's the succession plan? Like, they still don't have a guy that you're going to go to once he retires. So I just feel like McVay is one of those guys he doesn't know if he wants to coach next year or not. I think he's probably takes it year to year in terms of what he wants to do. But if he does want to coach, I'm sure he's going to want somebody playing quarterback that gives him a chance to win a Super Bowl. Stafford's that guy right now. I don't think I have a lot of respect for Jimmy G and what he's done in his career. He's not, Matthew Stafford. And that doesn't, they do have a high draft pick, so potentially they could draft somebody, but the quarterback draft class isn't the greatest according to, the draft analyst out there. So that leads me to say that Stafford is probably going to play another year. He's playing, he's going to win the MVP this year. So
yeah,
it's not like he's seeing a drop in his performance. So why not run it back again and go out and collect the rest of that contract?
Yeah, worry about that problem another day. So I'm with you, especially, in a career year where you might go to the Super Bowl. But Eric, that's it. We appreciate the time. That was 30 minutes. I know it's a late night. You've been busy. You've been, covering the league. You're a coach too, so you do it all. So we appreciate your time here, Eric.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Look forward to watching the game this weekend, and look forward to joining you guys in the future.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Eric.
Ready to roll.
Yeah.
All right, Eric. Have a good one.
Thank you, man.
Yep. Oh, and let me do this. Let me just work some stuff out here, Gilbert, and then we'll get right back on this. All right, Gilbert. Let's close out. Let's finish up the show real strong here. Let's get to the keys here, and we talked about with Eric about those keys, and I want to hear your keys here, and then we'll give our we'll do the spread and then our predictions here. Gilbert, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add because I thought Eric broke it down really well. Yeah, like I mentioned, I think for the first time, I really feel like this is probably the Seahawks' best chance to win. I know they already beat them the second time, but even that game, I was like, I don't know, man. Darnold had the 4 picks. They seem a little fraudy. I don't know. And then obviously they beat them. Like, okay, cool. They show a lot of toughness, heart to come back from a 16-point deficit. They definitely handle business a lot better than the Rams did. They do not play down in the competition. But it's kind of going back to like they haven't done much since that Rams game. It's like, are they just, are they gonna maybe like, would that be a disadvantage where you haven't been pushed? They had the bye week, they had the beatdown against the 49ers. Like maybe that could be an issue there. But when you play each other 3 times, everybody knows everybody's tricks. So again, I really don't know what direction to go here. But I am with Eric that special teams thing is like in the back of my mind. And this is why it's always so difficult for me to believe that the Rams could win the whole damn thing because of special teams, because of the secondary. There's just some big weaknesses, but there are also some big ass strengths. I'll be straight up. They have some great strengths because you have Puka Nacua, you have Stafford, you have McVay, you have Jared Verse, who I know I've been critical of him. I'm expecting him to have like an impactful game, but you can't disagree with the pressure rate. We can't disagree with the way he helps other people, set the table for other people. So they're just loaded with talent. So to me, I think they're able to overcome these weaknesses. We saw Kobe Durant rise to the occasion. We saw the benefit of Quentin Lake in the secondary. That's not a thing that happens every week. Like, don't get me wrong. I still think they're a liability, but I think they're playing with confidence. They know a team very well, and they know that they don't have to be perfect because they know how to score points. So I'm running out of answers for keys, but there's just something where like I just rambled off 10 things where like, you just don't know because both sides are very good.
Yeah, and for me, Gilbert, maybe it's that I'm kind of being a little, wanting the Rams to make it just to have them on Radio Row and continuing this run here on House of Horns. But I'll give it to you guys straight in terms of how I'm seeing this, and having watched both teams, and I was high on the Seahawks coming into the season, and they've proven me right with how good they've been. I felt like Ernest Jones, he was unlocking this defense when they brought him in last year. I thought it was a mistake for the Rams to trade him away. Luckily they were able to find someone like Nate Landman. But you're right. One of the things that I've been really impressed with this team, Gilbert, in the playoffs is their resiliency, right? Like, you look at the two faces last year in terms of their defense and their special teams, they were locked in. Their offense was the one that kind of let them down in that game against the Bears, or else they should have probably won that game before going to overtime. And then, we know about McVay's, game game management, and that might come into play here. But when I look at this matchup, and you look at trilogy fights in the past, and whatever it is that you're talking about, whether you're talking about boxing or any kind of sport, the third one is usually the wild card, right? It's the one that, well, you don't know what to expect. If you're the Rams, you know what to expect now. You've been in this situation. The Seahawks haven't, right? You've had McVay, you know what you have in the players offensively and defensively. I thought defensive, and I'll start off with the offense. I thought the reason I asked Eric about the offensive line was because they have Kevin Dotson back, and ever since he's been back, they've been able to run the ball, and so I expect them to run the ball a lot more with Kevin Dotson back. And I wonder if they go to that 13 personnel a lot more instead of that 11 personnel, because I get being hard headed about getting Devontae Adams into this game, and rightfully so. You're one of the best goal line, one of the best red zone offenses because of it, right? And so I get that, but you have to run the ball in this game. I think that's the key in this matchup. Be able to run the ball defensively. I think somebody that the Seahawks need to keep an eye on is Cam Curl. Cam Curl is starting to play. He's starting to ball out, and yeah, I like the fact that he's kind of being boisterous this week. I know he kind of you know talked about Sam Darnold, and everything he said were facts, right? Every time they've faced him, they've got him to turn the ball over. So I'm with Cam Crow there. Like, he has not. It's not that he isn't true. So I'm with Cam Crow, but Cam Crow, I think, is a big factor in the run game, and also in the secondary, because having Quinn Lake back allows him to kind of roam around and be able to either disguise uh and be the guy that Sam Darnold needs to keep an eye on, because he's either going to come and stop the run, and then special teams, Gilbert, as you mentioned, the fact that Mevis was able to kick that game-winning field goal in overtime told me that they believe in him, and so and it's not going to be. And he did that in bad conditions. The fact that this is not going to be a bad condition game, I like their special teams in this game. But I think the biggest key for special teams is punt the ball away from Shaheed. Do not let that guy receive a single punt. If you're Ethan Evans, you punt that ball out of bounds every single time if you can. You keep the ball away from him. So those are my keys for all three faces of the Rams.
Yeah, even special teams almost screwed it up last week against Chicago, where they had that crappy punt, and I think that's where I think Caleb Williams had that miracle touchdown. Yeah, I'm with you. Do not give any opportunities to Rashid Shaheed. Enough is enough. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm ready to make a pick here, but
Yeah, let's
that's
go.
something
The
in the back
Rams
of my
are
mind
two and
too.
a half point underdogs here. The over under here is 47.5. Gilbert, what is the right side of this line?
I'll go under. I could see a more low scoring game like the first game. I know the second game was very high scoring, explosive overtime game, but as a reminder of last week, the Bears and the Rams, like that was a very cerebral game. sloach, who wins a chess match, and uh, yeah, obviously McVay won that one, but it was a very slow down pace when you thought maybe the Bears and the Rams could run up the score. I think this one would be more high level coaching, more feel out, more. All right, like there might even be some like pressure where you don't want to like make a mistake, so you're not playing as freely. Obviously, the Super Bowl's on the line, so I'll go the under here. And yeah, I think the Rams being underdogs is justified. I think the Seahawks have earned it. You would have asked me that 2 months ago, I would have said no, or I would have definitely been taking the points there. But yeah, I think the Rams being underdogs is Rams. Obviously played a close one against Chicago, played a close one against Carolina. They should have maybe lost both games, and then before I don't know, week 18 against the Cardinals, was that the last time this team dominated? They haven't dominated in a minute. So going to another road game to potentially go to the Super Bowl is difficult.
Yeah, and I'm with you here. I like the under in this game as well. I don't see, just because of how much these teams know each other. It's gonna be kind of like that first game we saw at SoFi, where it's gonna be back and forth. The reason we saw a high scoring game in the second matchup was because it was a short week. They had less time to prepare, and there was a lot of blown assignments on both sides of the ball for both teams. So I don't expect that to be the case. I think it's going to be a much tighter score and low.
Yeah. For me, since I went with the under, I'm expecting some kind of walk off fashion. I'm expecting the team with the ball last wins this game. It will not go overtime again, but I think maybe thicker kicker will come through on this one. I'll even have some drama. I think he misses the field goal early on, makes people sweat, and then it's like, all right, we have another options. We got to give you the kick here. Are you gonna be game or not? So I'll go. Mavis winning the game, 23-20, last second field goal. Rams go to the Super Bowl. I don't feel confident about it. Obviously, the first two times I was like, yeah, Darnold's not that good, but they don't need Darnold to be that good. You just need him to not turn over the ball and not take a bunch of sacks, which he's capable of doing. So it's going to be one of these slow games where he might have a pick. I don't expect 4 interceptions, but they're going to give him a tough. It's going to be low scoring. I think even the Seahawks defense will bounce back from the second performance to give Stafford problems themselves. So let's go 23-20 Rams, and they go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think the Rams are winning this game, and it's going to be by 7 points at least. It's going to be somewhere like, I want to say 24-17. Does that go? Is that under what I said? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 41, yeah.
Yeah. 24-17. And look, like I said, maybe I'm just, wanting and pushing for into the Rams at Super Bowl Radio Row. But I've looked at this game, and I've tried to kind of go and be balanced on both sides. The Seahawks have played well, but the fact is that they haven't really been tested, Gilbert. And on the other side, the Rams just keep getting tested. Whether it's been the Panthers, they gotten punched in the mouth against the 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 Falcons and the Seahawks and even the Panthers, right? And they've come back. And then last week, everybody was talking about the cold, and they were able to pull out that win. You thought, well, maybe it's over after, Caleb Williams has that miraculous, play for the touchdown where he goes back 24 yards, and it's like, how are they going to recover from this? And then McVay, after the game says, well, it's on me. I messed up. I didn't do a good job, and just feels like they're finally there, and you finally get a nice environment where you don't have to worry about the elements, about the wind against Carolina or the snow and the cold against the Bears. I just feel like this is their time. They put all the pieces together to be able to go and get a Super Bowl. You have the MVP on your team. You have one of the best coaches out there, and so it's time for you to put it together and have a complete game, Gilbert. We haven't seen a complete game from this team in a while, and this is
Yeah.
the time for them to do it against a good Seahawks team. So I'm gonna say, like I said, 24-17 over the Seahawks in this game.
Okay, I see a couple final scores here. Michael Armenta is going Rams 38, Seahawks 35. What else did I see? I saw a few more before that, or did
Here, I got you. Go ahead, and if you find some, go
yeah,
ahead and
I know I saw Happy say he's going over. I think Brian did too on the over. But yeah, let me know if there's more scores out there that I am missing. Obviously, our good friend Eric went with the Seahawks there, which I was a little
yeah.
surprised, but they
Yep.
had been playing better. So we're both going Rams here. Brian Smith's bringing up Darnold's oblique. Yeah, that wasn't really a problem this first playoff game, but he wasn't really tested. But yeah, there's too much things here to break down here. Brian Smith's going 31-24 for the final score. Don's going Rams 21-23 over the Sea Hags. Okay, that's the name we're going with. Yeah, or the Sea Chickens. I've heard of that one too. Yeah, sometimes these names are just forced. We need to dig deep and not let off the gas pedal. 30-28 Rams. Happy Gilmore is saying that on the chat here. I have not forgotten about you audio listeners. And yeah, Brian Smith went 31-24. So that's me reading off the comments here. But I think that's it. Vic, is there anything else?
No, that's it. I mean, let's get ready for this matchup. It's the matchup that we've been wanting. You know, for the since the second half of the season. These have been the two best teams in football, and I'm with Michael there. It is, to me, this is the Super Bowl matchup. One more thing I forgot to mention, Gilbert. I don't know if you've seen the video of the what's his name, the hypnotist guy who before the season predicted he had it in Devontae Adams' hand. It was Rams 21-14 against the Broncos.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, I'll send you the video, but yeah, so he still has those teams alive and well. So
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's see if that comes to fruition. But first, they have to beat the Seahawks in Seattle.
Didn't you pick
Darnold,
the Broncos to beat the Patriots this weekend?
I did. I picked the Broncos. So yeah, maybe
There you go.
I
Maybe
made the right choice here,
yeah.
according to the magician there. But
Yeah.
yeah, let's get out of here and get to Championship Sunday. Check out everything we're doing on Compass on the Beat. We've been breaking down the NFL playoffs on Compass. Obviously, if you got here late, check out the Eric D. Williams interview. We're going to have the full interview up on House of Horns. So, yeah, Eric is great. He covers the NFL for Fox Sports. So he gave us a lot of insight on this matchup here. But yeah, keep it locked in. And obviously, we're going to be heading to Radio Row for Super Bowl. Win or lose for the Rams, we'll be out there. So stick around for more coverage. But we appreciate everybody jumping on tonight. A little later than usual, but good crowd out here before a playoff game. But it's time to get going. Y nos vamos, pues.